Well, that was quite an explosive episode. Much to get into. Let's go. Outlander Season 4, Episode 12, Providence. Hey guys, it's Marsha and welcome to Really Seriously For Real. This is episode 12. I mean, we've come pretty far and now we are just a door knock away from Droughtlander yet again. But for now, let's get into this. Alright, so let's start with Brianna and Lord John. They're still over at River Run. Lord John comes in and tells Brianna that Bonnet has been captured. And Brianna, she tells Lord John, but I want to talk to him. Poor Lord John. He's always trying to do the right thing. Lord John is just like, no. This is not how it works, okay? You coming face to face with your attacker, this does not work for me. But Brianna, she says, this is something that I need to do. And she hands Lord John a letter. And it's the letter that Jamie had sent to her that Lord John had delivered. And we hear Jamie's voice basically reading the letter. And this is the only time that we even see Jamie, Ian, and Claire. He's telling Brianna in this letter, as much as vengeance and as much as anger will drive you, you think that this is the right thing. But he's like, it's not. You know, sometimes you have to find a way to move on. Now, of course, he put it so much more eloquently, but you catch the gist. Sometimes you just need some time away. You need some time away to think, to kind of ingest what happened. And that's exactly what happens here. Brianna, she tells Lord John, I didn't even say goodbye to Jamie. You know, you're going off, you want to find the love of your life, you want to find Roger, but yet in the process you can lose them all. You know, you don't know. They didn't say that, they didn't allude to that, but when you think about it, that's basically where it can go. Lord John, I can understand that this is something that you need to do, and I'm right there behind you. So it's so cute because Brianna, she comes back to Lord John and says something that probably we all think, at least me, you're impossible not to like. I know, Brianna, it is impossible not to like Lord John. So ultimately they get to Wilmington. And when Brianna steps out of the carriage, she kind of looks around. So when you think about it, this is the first time that she's been back to Wilmington since all of that occurred. She turns to Lord John and so she's just like, being here is a lot harder than what she thought. And I don't know, I was just kind of thinking, did she mean here in Wilmington, back to the scene of the crime, or just being in that time? Because honestly, it could fit either one. So in any case, they go on into the jail. Brianna asks Lord John to wait for her. So of course he's just like, listen, I'm here if you need me. So she continues and she goes into Bonnet's cell. So he is chained up to the wall. When she walks in, she tells Bonnet, do you know who I am? Number one. So at first he's just like, no. But then he looks a little harder and then he realizes, oh, that's you, you know? And so of course he tries to rile her up, but she just tells him, she's like, listen, I forgive you. And then she shows that she's pregnant. And at first he's just like, okay, well, you wouldn't be the first person trying to pin a baby on me. And so she's just like, first of all, I don't have any reason to lie. I could care less if you don't believe me. Maybe it'll be a comfort to you in your passing to know that there's something left of you on this earth. But of course, Bonnet, he's still trying to rile her as much as he can, because she had already turned around and she started to walk away. I'm like, good, just say your piece and keep it moving. But then he's just like, oh yeah, so then I guess you'll have something in me to always remind you of me. And I'm just saying to myself, like, Brianna, keep going. Brianna, keep going. Do not turn around. Don't let this man break your stride. But she turns around and she's just like, you know what? First of all, let me tell you something. Nobody's going to think about you when you're gone. You're going to be rotting in the ground and nobody's going to remember you. Your child, or this child, will not know who you are. And I was just like, ooh, you let him know. You let him know. And then she starts to turn around and walk away. And then again, he's like, wait. I'm like, no, we're not gonna wait. Keep going, Brianna. His whole posture changed. It was like for the first time that he softened. And I don't know, I think he just kind of took in his whole situation and realized, you know, like, really, what more can you possibly say? What more can you possibly do? other than to finally do something good. And so he reaches into his mouth and he pulls out a gem and hands it to Brianna. She's like, I don't want anything from you. He's like, well, you know what? Just take care of the boy. And I'm like, wow, you know, of course, I don't like Bonnet. I mean, that's not gonna make me like, oh, Bonnet. But you gotta appreciate the fact that for once in his absolutely horrible life, that he was able to think of someone other than himself. In the midst of all of this happening, we kind of cut to Fergus and Marcelly. Now they're at home, and they're like my new favorite couple, right? At least Marcelly is. Because again, that girl, she has spunk. She's smart and she's witty. So Fergus, he's sitting there at the table and he's just kind of playing around with some stuff on the table. And she's looking. And she's like, what you doing? And so, you know, of course, that just kind of jolts Fergus. I mean, we know who rules the roost here, right? And so she takes a closer look at the table and she's like, wait a minute. Are you going to break out Murtagh? Fergus, he's like, well, yeah. And so then Marcelly says, good. Finally, let's do this. And so, you know, she's in on the plan. It's kind of like a moment of, what will Claire and Jamie do? They're both just thinking and just wishing that they were there. Was it last week? Yeah, last week. When Fergus is talking about, I have a plan. And I was just like, the plan was stupid because it was just like, just knock him out, boing, and then that's it. But this one, I'm like, oh, okay, this one was much more exciting. It's go time, right? Fergus, he jumps in line with the regulators and they get to the door where the jail is. And so then they raise their guns to the guys at the door and make their way into the jail. And so, you know, once they get in there, oh, hello, Lord John Grey. Damn. So Fergus is like, Lord John, is that you? Lord John is like, you're damn right, Fergus, what you doing? This is just a mess. Fergus, he does tell everyone, like, leave Lord John alone. And then they go and they get Murtagh. Murtagh comes out and Murtagh's like, Lord John. And then Brianna comes out and she's like, Murtagh. And then everybody's looking at everyone else and it's just like, ah. So it's just terrible. And then Murtagh is just like, oh, you Governor Tryon flunky. And so then he's saying, I'm going to take Brianna back to River Run. And so then Lord John is just like, says who? If she rides off with you and you're caught, you're all going to hang. No, I'm going to take her back. It's like, again, thank goodness they got some people with some sense. In the midst of all this chaos, a pair of keys ends up falling to the floor near Bonnet. Nobody noticed, of course. Everybody's like, oh, you know, the jail is gonna blow. And so they're like, wait a minute, you're gonna blow up the jail? And they're like, yeah, we gotta get out of here. And so then Brianna's the only one with any sense because there's a guy that's knocked out on the floor. And so she's like, well, grab the guy. We can't just leave him to die. And you know, and that's the thing. They were, because again, I thought that they were just gonna blow out the back. But no, they literally blew up the entire jail. And I'm just like, so you were really gonna just kill anyone that was in there? I don't know how I felt about that. But now, in the midst of all this, you see Bonnet sitting there, you know, stretching his leg out and trying to get to the keys. Now, my whole thing with all this is the fact that the whole time he was in there with Brianna, he couldn't go any further than the midpoint of the jail cell. And then as soon as he saw those keys, it was just like he was contorting his body all kinds of ways, and he was able to get his feet on the keys that were like practically in the hallway. So I thought that was kind of funny. The jail blows up, so we don't know if Bonnet got out, but come on, we already know that he got out. Everybody else did. Murtagh and Fergus, they make their way to the waiting carriage that Marcelly was driving and hop in the back. Marcelly pulls it closed and she's like, walk on to the horses. Brianna and Lord John, they are in the street and they're walking away like, oh dear, what happened? But then they're stopped by a couple of guards and they're just like, oh, Lord John, that's right, you were in there, are you okay? And I'm like, damn, oh my god, this is gonna be so bad. I don't know, I just feel like someone is gonna start to connect the dots. Things are gonna go really bad. Anywho, Lord John, though, he covers for everyone. He's like, I didn't see anyone, all's good with the world. Let's get to Roger. Roger with the Mohawk. So last week, poor Roger was getting pummeled. And he started out this week in the same way. I mean, the boy is still getting knocked around. I'm like, oh, This is so bad. I was like, get up, man, come on, fight. And so, you know, he was trying, but then finally they broke his arm. Yeah, he fell to the ground, and then they stopped. They're like, wait. And I'm like, come on, it's like Rocky, get up. 1, 2, 3, like you can do it, you can do it. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, so one of the warriors comes up to him, he's like, you're gonna stay a prisoner. I'm like, damn. So basically, if he just got up and showed some fight, he would have been fine. He would have been out of there. I don't know what would have happened to him, but I guess he wouldn't have been a prisoner. Listen, let me tell you something. You know, if that was Jamie, he would have been getting up. His arm would have been dangling, blood just dripping from his face, and he's like, next. You know it. But you know, Roger, he's not there yet. Anyhow, Roger's basically a slave. But a woman, she has a baby, she speaks French, and she gives Roger some sort of herb, and she's like, just chew on it. It'll help with the pain. I could probably use that. So anyhow, the warrior that had initially walked poor Roger 700 miles up here, Cotteron, he tells her, stay away from him. His people didn't even want him. So she taps Cotteron on his head, and so she's just like, we must remember that peace begins here, as does war in the minds of men. I don't know, I really like, we need to put that on a shirt. You know, Roger's told to distribute wood. Poor guy, his arm is in a sling, and so he's over there trying to carry this wood with one arm. So he walks over to the first campfire. A bunch of men are sitting around it. One that looks, I have to assume, is the chief. So he's just like, you need some wood? So they say nothing to him. So he tosses a piece of wood on the fire, and then he walks to the next one. That one has his new friend, this tribal woman, sitting there with her child, as well as his original captor, Cotteron. She smiles at Roger, and so then Roger smiles back. You know, again, it's just like a friendly face after all this torture. But Cotteron, he sees this because it's very clear that he has a thing for her. And he sees her smiling at him smiling back, and it was just like, hey, let's put that wood on the fire. But then Roger, he interrupts Cotteron as he's talking, and oh my God, woo, he jumps up. I was like, this is it, Roger, this is it. But then Joyeon, she steps in front of him, and so she's like, okay, wait, hold on. First of all, he doesn't know our customs. He doesn't know that it's rude to speak when someone else is speaking. And he doesn't know that it's rude to point. And I'm like, dude, hostage 101. Keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, and just do as you're told. Okay? Well, I don't know. Hostage 101. I've never been a hostage. Cotteron, he knocks Roger down to the floor. And so now the chief, he comes over. And he tells Roger, he looks down at Roger, he's like, you've learned nothing. To the hut with you, Cotteron. So he's like, first of all, where do your loyalties lie? How did you become an outcast? You know? And I'm just thinking like, oh my God, that's a long, long story. You got time? So he's tossed in the hut. And then lo and behold, there's another guy in there, and he's speaking French. And it's like, oh, so I wonder if he's the baby daddy. And so basically this guy is telling him, you know, he's in there because he fell in love. Yeah, why does it always have to come down to love? You know, love is always getting people in trouble. Well. So he explains that, you know, he fell in love, they have a baby, and that part was actually fine. You know, the tribe was okay with that. He was a minister or a priest, and he was ministering to the tribe, his faith, right? So, you know, they were okay with all this until that baby came, and they were like, we want you to baptize the baby. And so now the priest is like, no, I can't. And the reason why he could not is because he took vows to uphold the laws of God. So that means that he basically broke his vows to God. So if he were to baptize this child, I mean, he might as well just send the child to hell. The tribe, you know, they don't understand that. This minister came in here and is teaching this faith and this religion to this tribe, and is teaching the importance of being baptized. This is what you've taught them. You know, for them, it's just like, oh my God, like, how could you not baptize this child? And I get it. I understand. This tribe is like, this is what you taught us. Do us a salad and make it good. And, you know, even Roger, he's like, just do it anyway. Like, you know, because you're going to die. They're going to kill you. Because now, in the midst of all this, they had actually yanked the priest out of the hut. And then when he came back, he didn't have an ear. And they're like, the next road for you is a long simmering death. Because basically, I don't know, like they heat up his feet in a pit of fire until he finally dies. But, you know, Roger, he tells him the story. He's just like, you know, let me tell you something. I've done some crazy things, all in the name of love, right? And so, you know, you think that you're about to get like a whole life lesson here. Like, okay, you know, Roger kind of understands what's going on. But no, he's like, I had the chance. I had escaped. I could, all I had to do was just reach out and touch it. And of course, we know that he's talking about touching the stone. But he's like, I hesitated and I didn't do it. And he was captured again. And he's just like, you know what? You know what I learned? Look out for number one, me. Right? So anyway, so he tells the priest, he's like, I've been digging a hole back here. So why don't you help me and then we can escape. We can even grab the kid and Joyeon, we can get out there and have a beautiful life. So whatever. They work all night. They like do nothing. The hole is like this big. I'm like, seriously? All night? 2 people? The next morning, they come and they grab the priest. And he had told Roger, he's like, listen, while they're off torturing me, you escape. Roger, miraculously, with one hand, mind you, is able to successfully dig his way out of the hut. So anyway, he shimmies on out of that hut and he makes a beeline for the woods, right? He's out of there. He's running. But the whole time he's just like, because you can hear the priest. He's just screaming out in agony. Roger, he's like, no. All about number one. I'm not going back. And so he couldn't leave that guy to suffer like that, right? So he runs back. Everything is going in slow motion. This beautiful music is playing. Adagio for strings. It was by Samuel Barber. A little cinema fact here. This song is famous for playing in the movie Platoon when William Dafoe's character passed away. If you're like, wait a minute, I know that song, because I know me. I was like, I know this song. I don't feel like it was just created for Outlander. And sure enough, it's like 30 years old. He gets there, he grabs a barrel of something. So I don't know if it was liquor or gunpowder or whatever, but he chucks it at the fire. Fire just explodes and engulfs the priest. And then Joyeon, she kisses her baby and puts her baby down and then climbs onto the fire. So now Corderon, he is just completely destroyed. He loves this woman, you know it. He reaches down to the baby and he holds the baby and just cries. I mean, it's an incredibly emotional moment. They drove that one home. They dug it in. They slapped us around. It was just like, whoa. Well, Roger, this was it. It was nice knowing you. But they drag him off back to the hut. And so he says, that's it, lads. Take me back to the idiot hut now. I thought it was really good. I thought that, you know, the focus on the characters that we had was genuine. It was deep. It was explosive. It was chilling. Roger's still not quite there yet. Like, he still hasn't learned that life lesson yet. He's gonna need a little bit more time, but hopefully we'll get that in the next episode. Okay, question of the day. Let's really spark a debate. Should the priest have performed the baptism? Yeah, I'm going there. Comment down below. So that's it. Next week is it. Outlander will commence. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any of the additional content. Thanks for watching. Until next time.